Deepa, Sayal, thanks for your patience. Your initial comments on the stimulus package so far, what all is right according to you, what all do you appreciate, and what all has left you disappointed?
See, I think what the government has done and given us, it's an extensive package that has gone across 5 days. So I think in terms of the trust, it is enormous.
If you can just speak a bit louder, Deepa.
Yes. Is it better now? Is it better? So when I say package, now this is enormous. The liquidity has been, on papers, it sounds really good. But when it comes to the actual execution, let me tell you that I am on the panel of a women's board, and I've spoken to about 40, 50 women entrepreneurs. They still feel that there's a lot that can be done in terms of boosting liquidity, and in terms of mentoring the MSME quadrant or the echelon. So I would speak from the perspective of MSME since I'm a lead protagonist. So I would say that there's so many things that we can do. There are 4-pronged strategy that I feel we can induce. The first one, I think that we can, build consumption patterns. That is one. We can orchestrate policy changes. I strongly feel that when I say policy change, I was lucky to be on the panel of a group that advised ministry just recently. What we thought is that the policy makers and the people who affect these policy and the doers, there's a lot of, I think, lacuna there to be filled. So I think people from the grassroots have to go out there and tell them that there are basic challenges. So I'll tell you, as I'm running an MSME company, I am on the board of 4 companies. I feel payments is a major concern. So government has been very
receivables from the government.
Yeah. So I'll give you some live industry examples. There are 4 things that I feel government has been supporting as far as the IT reforms are concerned, or the other things, GST filing deference is concerned. That is very good. But when it comes to payments, I am stuck on the credit part, or the capital crunch is a major concern. And like me, many women speak the same thing, that, hey, like in other economies like China or Germany, MSMEs are curated. We have to give them a friendly environment. We have to mentor them. So I'll give you a classic example. There's a beautiful course by Stanford Seed, 11 months course, wherein the last 3 months, there's a mentor that goes to MSMEs and inducts them and tell them, like, from the industry and by the industry, actually mentoring them. So I think this is one important thing. Policy change is grassroots. We have to spur demand. Now, that is very important. When we say demand, the government has to get into investments into infrastructure, manufacturing. Modi ji is very right when he says we want to be self-reliant. We need to be self-reliant, but there's a lot that gets into it, in terms of GDP spending on investments and other climate, we have to compete China in many ways. Supply chains have to be better. Let me tell you, because we are so good when it comes to, having workforce which is very agile, we have youngsters, we have English-speaking workforce, but when it comes to supply chains, when it comes to MSME mentorship, we have a long way. That is a big caveat, I think, that we need to.
You talked of consolidation. You talked of companies coming together, right? Startups being bunched together. Now, is that a realistic? Give us an example how it will happen. Because we have 2 startups in 2 different sectors, how will we find the common ground? And cultural coming together of founders is another issue. So tell us, do you think it's a good pipe dream to have, or will it actually happen?
Okay, before we get Divya on behalf of young entrepreneurs to react to that, to the point that you just made, I think Deepa had a point to make. Yes, Deepa.
So 2 things I'd like to add. It's a very nice point that is added, but collaborative experiences, agility is really going to take place. So I'll give you this startup that is really affected by COVID, by the name of Pediguru. So these guys have turned it around in 2 months and they're doing extremely well. So how fast you respond to change and how you build online collaborative experiences will lead you a good way, when we talk about sustaining and going forward in the next 5 years. The digitalization is really going to expedite, if you see, 5 more years. And we'll have many experiences. And
Deepa, you're saying digital will save the day for us. The digital leap that we take in our businesses and in the economy will actually help us get back what we've lost in the last 90 days.
Yeah. So telepresence, medical diagnostics, see the change coming in a very big way in the next 5 years. And companies have to adapt and they'll have to brace up on their skill sets. That's number 1. And very final point that I like to make is learning by the example of China. What they're doing, they're geographically populating similar companies, referring to your point, Anurag, that, collaborative experiences, similar companies, same domain can use same resources and same supply routes. So that is how China has really grown to be a superpower in manufacturing, and we can emulate that. Why can't we?
Deepa, Sanyal, economy is 90 to 120 days from now.
I don't know, I would summarize it like this, 6 things. I would say the word, I picked out the word resilient recovery. We would learn to bet on our USPs and our strengths in the coming times. We would be immune to change. We'll brace up our skill sets, I can tell you that. And most importantly, we'll value our taxpayers and build economies of scale around them. The last one has to be thought. There's where the detail is. I think we learn it and we'll get there. It's all about being optimistic. That's my thought.
I think I would say we would like to be cautiously optimistic. I would add the word cautious. We don't know where COVID is headed, and the next 2 months could determine how the debate between lives and livelihood shapes out.